Game is hard, really hard. If you want to get into Flesh and Blood, get ready to lose. A lot. Let's talk about why and why it's still worth getting into the game. Hi, my name is ScowlingFleshBag and I suck in Flesh and Blood. And if you're watching this, there's a good chance you do too. I mean, no slight by saying this, but the reality is Flesh and Blood, while a great game, is really hard. I have been playing for 4 years and I'm still nowhere close to mastering the game. While that is not much of an indicator, me being a pretty mid player after all, you can even see top tier players make mistakes regularly. At the time of this video, I have played around 150 games this year alone and I've lost just over 50%. That's what I like to call aggressively mid. It is even tougher for new players coming into the game. Losing this many games should be discouraging, but it's a huge credit to the game that losing this much still has me and many others come back for more day after day, week after week, and so on. Wait, could it be Stockholm Syndrome? No. Today I want to talk about what makes the game so challenging, not only for newcomers, but also for established players, and why it can be so rewarding to stick with. I will wrap up the video with a few tips that will help anyone improve, so stick around for that. The gameplay loop is straightforward once you get it down, but oh my, is there a lot of depth. Every set introduces new heroes, talents, abilities, card types, and more. Over time, this has added a lot of complexity, bringing the comprehensive rulebook to over 120 pages. Games of Flesh and Blood can develop complex game states, and small, seemingly insignificant mistakes can easily lead to a game loss. Resolving the steps of attacking and defending in a turn are simple, right? Surely one action point means you attack, they defend, and it's done? Well, no. One look at this slightly outdated graph will tell you that the resolution of priorities is inherently complex. If you have ever played a hero which depends on a lot of instant speed cards, you know how complex it can get with priority windows alone. And this is on the micro level within a single action. When you zoom out to macro level for a whole game and consider that this complexity can occur on every single turn, well, then you start to understand the game's complexity. This complexity needs in-depth understanding of the rules and good decision making, which leads me neatly to the next point. As I just explained, the turn-to-turn flow looks simple at first, but when diving into it, it gets complicated fast. When to block, what to block with, when to take damage, the potential consequences of that on the next turn and overall game plan can get complex fast. Aside from the turn-to-turn decisions, players also need to consider the overall game plan and ensure the decisions they make turn-to-turn also support that plan. Sometimes taking damage on the defensive deck can be the right choice, or vice versa. Sometimes blocking out when playing an aggressive deck can be the right decision, even if this seems counterintuitive. Let's take Fire Rising Rebellion as an example. His approach to the game is to send 4 to 5 cards of attack every turn and to not block. You're ignoring what your opponent is doing. They may as well not exist. Until you're not. Let's imagine you're playing into an opponent that blocks very well and you struggle to send damage which can go over their blocks. Know that you need to set up a big 5-card turn with cards which can go over the standard block value of 3. So you set up a Spreading Flames in Arsenal that gives your attacks +1 damage if the card's damage value is lower than the amount of Draconic Chain Links. Your opponent now attacks you with Command and Conquer and threatens to do 6 damage and also take this card, which is crucial to your game plan. So if you're not blocking, you're not only taking 6 damage, you're losing 3 value of the Spreading Flames plus a point of value for every card on the chain, which will get the extra +1 from Spreading Flames. While your plan as far is to not block, not blocking to Command and Conquer could mean you could lose anywhere between 9 to 12 points of value, and this could mean that you just lost your win condition. In this case, to support your overall game plan as Fi, it may be better to use 2 to 3 cards from your hand to block, send back a smaller attack on your turn and wait to execute your big turn when you're not facing disruption from the opposing hero. However, in the scenario just described, maybe not blocking is the right decision. Imagine your opponent is on a single digit of life. Perhaps keeping 4 cards in hand, not blocking, and then sending enough damage where they need to block with 3 to 4 cards to not lose turns that momentum in your favor that you can take control of the game and close it out from there. This one rather simple example demonstrates a complex decision making in Flesh and Blood. The smallest of mistakes can mean win or lose. Remember that one point of damage you misblocked on the very first turn of the game when you were still at 40 life? Well, that is about to lose you the game. The game is so well balanced that the smallest of margins determine who wins and loses. 1 point of value lost here or there can be exactly what you are missing to win the game, or just enough for them to defeat you. Believe me, I've been there often enough. One thing that you will notice when playing or watching Flesh and Blood is that many games can get very close at the end. Both players on low single digits of life throwing whatever they have left at each other. You have to be 100% focused from the very first moment to the very last second. One bad decision could lose the game. Forcing your opponent to make a mistake for whatever reason is probably the biggest decider of who will win or lose. It can often come down to who makes less mistakes. Yes, who makes less mistakes. Even the best players often do not play the perfect game, as I mentioned in the intro. There are too many decision points over the course of the game to ensure every decision is always the right one. But with more games comes experience, and that helps with this and other aspects. Thin margins, deceptively deep decision making, and complex rules mean that experience matters a lot in Flesh and Blood. There are many different heroes, and even on the same hero there can be different approaches to play the game. For example, Rhinar can be played very aggressively around the Blood Rush Bellow and Mandible Claw build, or more defensively with a Rump and Club and a lot of this defense reactions. Or you could run a rock deck. Hey, I didn't say it had to be good. Hell, there are even different levels of aggression in the Mandible Claw version, ranging from balls to the wall aggression to doing chip damage and then finishing the opponent with one big Blood Rush Bellow turn. As an example, I recently played a Rhinar deck based on blocking and attacking with Romping Club almost exclusively. This is not a deck that is being played right now. Many players that I face sideboarded incorrectly. One opponent sideboarded in Balance of Justice. This would make sense if I played the popular Mandible Claw version of Rhinar, but with my deck, I'm not running Blood Rush Bellow, so the condition for the text on Balance of Justice will never trigger. When facing an opponent, you need to understand the many aspects of their hero, class, talent, and potential different ways they can build their deck. Even at casual level, this can be a big challenge, as people build experimental decks that are hard to anticipate. When starting out in Flesh and Blood, it is hard to anticipate what your opponent is going to do, and that knowledge only comes with experience. It can be crucial to understand what an opponent wants to do once they reveal their hero and equipment, and how they play in the first few turns to then be able to adjust your game plan as necessary to win the game. Okay, but Scowling. Surely a lot of that applies only to the top levels of play in competitive tournaments. Well, about that. The game is marketed as the premier competitive trading card game on the market. The excellent organized play structure, high prize money and additional rewards like Player of the Year attracts a very competitive player base. Some of the best competitive players in the world have found their way to Flesh and Blood. Big Magic the Gathering names like Simon Nielsen or Andrea Mengucci have joined the game. To expand on this example, they have joined Flesh and Blood, and while they have had respectable success, they have not come in and dominated the game right away. It only goes to show how good the existing player base is and what a normal player like myself and maybe you is facing off into. This strong competition makes it hard for more casual players to win, consistently adding to all the factors mentioned above. And as I hinted, this is not only at the top tier of organized play, but also the lowest levels at the armories. Flesh and Blood is one of the most welcoming fandoms I have ever encountered, but when the game starts, the gloves come off. Your opponent may be the friendliest person you have ever met, but there will be no leniency. They may help you avoid mistakes and miss triggers, but don't mistake, they are here to win. There's another factor why this game attracts a competitive cohort of players. Flesh and Blood has a low amount of chance or variance compared to other trading card games, which gives the players more agency over the outcome of the game, to the point where it was classified as a game of skill in Germany, something that sets it apart from most other trading card games. But there still is some. Last but not least, it is a trading card game. It has variance baked in. While there's less chance than in other trading card games, as I just mentioned, it still has some. Sometimes you draw well, sometimes you draw badly. It is part of the game. This is not chess where both players have perfect information at all times. It is a well-known fact that you need a good portion of luck, or in other words, good draws to be able to win a tournament. The same goes for your games at an armory or lower tier events. For example, Reinar can win any game if he draws 3 back-to-back Bloodrush Bellows, which I did in my first Nationals round in 2023. The opposite can happen as well. Do not despair if you lose a game that you should win on paper. Sometimes it just doesn't happen. It pays to evaluate the game result properly and not just blame it on variance, but let's not forget that variance is a thing and can have an impact. You need the right card at the right time to win. With all what we talked about, should you not play the game then? Why make yourself go through all of that effort to learn and grow to potentially still continue to lose? Is the game worth getting into, despite of everything that I just said? Well, without a doubt, yes. It is hands down one of the best games I have ever had the pleasure to play, for a variety of reasons. The community is an absolute joy to be part of. Rarely have I encountered a group of people that is so welcoming to people of all walks of life. The stereotype is that we nerds are socially awkward, but it is not what I'm finding here. Everyone is welcome, and with that I really mean everyone. It doesn't matter what pronoun you choose or what age or background you are, or anything else for that matter, as long as you yourself become a positive member of the community. It is pretty common for the local community to welcome a new player with open arms and to help them with cards they need to build out their first deck for free or at the lowest reasonable price. I've heard many stories over the years where the new players will get playmats and cards they need to flesh out their starter decks for free. A lot of what makes the game so difficult is also what makes it so good. Every single turn has a plethora of options and decisions. Almost never is there a turn where the player cannot make a meaningful decision. The push and pull between blocking, pitching or attacking with the cards available is an interesting puzzle to solve. At the heart of Flesh and Blood is a fantastic gameplay loop. If you think about video games as a comparison, if the game is good or bad usually comes down to the basic gameplay loop. A lot of them are built on basic things that are repeated over and over, and if they're good, depends if that loop is fun. For Flesh and Blood, that puzzle, that loop, that game is captivating. It is not a decent or even mediocre game wrapped by a popular IP. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Star Wars Unlimited, Lorcana and One Piece. It is just a fantastic game, and in my opinion, the best game the current trading card market has to offer. Finally, the game rewards you if you stick with it. If you're able to analyze from game to game what went wrong, what mistakes you made, and what the opponent's hero did and so on, you will eventually start winning. And those wins will come with regularity. I went from barely winning a game in the first months to having even records, to having winning records, to winning every game. Well, at least at an armory level, as I'm still working on the other tournament tiers, so yeah. So we have determined that it is a great game, that it is worth sticking with, but that it can be hard to master. What then can you do to get better at the game? Let's get a little bit more specific. What are some good habits to start to get better at the game? Number 1, ask for feedback. After each game, ask your opponent where they saw a mistake. Ask them where they felt the game swung in their favor and think about what you could have done differently. Your opponent may well have more experience than you and may have played this exact matchup many times and know exactly where they are looking for the win and where they were surprised you not doing what you need to do to win. Take advantage of that knowledge. Take notes. Write down how the game went, where you think it went wrong, what you would have done differently could go back and play the game again. Reflect on that and try to avoid those same mistakes in the next game. Maybe you make different mistakes in the next game, but hopefully you won't make the same ones again as you make an effort to memorize what went wrong and not to do that again. 3. Blame variance. I kid. But realize that sometimes there is nothing you could have done. Some games you just lose no matter what you do. Kano had 3 energy potions and an ether wildfire ready to go on their big turn. Yeah, you lose that no matter what. Make sure you're certain that this is what happened, but then don't overthink and move on to the next game. Number 4, stick with your hero. Unless you have a lot of time to learn a new hero or class, stick with your hero. as long as the hero is at least B tier. If you insist on playing tech levels, I don't know how I can help you, but you can have results with getting really good at a hero. Eugene C with his Reinhardt play, or the recent 5-witch bubble at the Calling in Bologna are some really good examples. The game rewards specialists, and they can get to the top placements by knowing their hero like no one else. Most top tier players switch between heroes when the meta demands, but ask yourself, do you have as much time and support as they have to practice? If not, stick to your hero. Play what you enjoy. Number 5, game plan. When you sit down against your opponent and they show you their hero and equipment, take a minute or two to think about what you have to do to win the game. Then commit to that strategy. I've lost many games because midway through the game I decided to change my strategy. I didn't have a proper strategy to begin with, or I got greedy on a turn and accepted more damage than I should have. Be clear on what you need to do to win the game. If you do not, talk to your opponent after the game what the game plan was and adjust accordingly moving forward. To wrap up then, it is a really hard game and most people will suck when first getting into the game, or as in my example, even after I played a long time. Do not be discouraged and expect this as part of the journey. Despite that, the game is rewarding, and if you continue to play, you will improve over a variety of aspects over time. With those improvements, the wins will start coming. A lot has been and is being said about the price of the game, but I'm a firm believer that you do not need to throw cash at the game to win games. Quite the contrary. The player makes a difference, and if you just throw money at the game chasing meta decks, you will likely not see any progress if you do not work on improving your level of play and how you approach the game. Instead, you will be frustrated with all the money spent and still not seeing much success. The game is awesome, rewards experience and dedication, and is 100% worth it, even if you lose quite a bit, like myself, all the time. Thank you for watching, and if you've made it this far, I would love a comment what you think about what I said. If you have any questions or any hints for newcomers, let me know in the comments. I'm always happy to help you and help others. See you in the next video. I'm going to go suck at the game now.